Books. So last video we learned how to get the image size and how to increase the image, decrease the image using JavaScript, and also we learned how to get the value from the text box and assign to the label. And in this video we will learn how to create some variables and assign the values and how we can use some basic if conditions. For example, this change value first I'm calculate. When I click calculate, what it does actually I get a define the variable and assign to variable and assign back to this one. And if I get today date is assigned to today date. And also we will see how we can, because last video we just learn when I click this change p value, what it does is just whatever you type, it just assign this value. But when you keep it blank this value, it has nothing. So I have added the validation. So let's learn that. And in this video let me just copy and move here, and let's remove a few things. This we can add from the beginning. No calculate change, this was already there. Let's say okay. Okay, let's start with some sort of if condition. um, Now left to refresh, change value. So what it happened now, whatever value you give in the text box, it just take it. Even if you give them blank value, there's no value, it still populates a blank value. Now let's add a small condition. So let's learn how to use if condition in JavaScript. So now what I'm going to do is, when I click this change p value, okay, I need to read the value in the text and to see if text is populated. If it is blank, I need to show error message. If it is not blank, I will assign this value. So we already know we have a function change p value. Here is a change p value. When I click the change p value, I have a function called change p. I go here, let me go there. So here's the function. Now let me add a if condition. Basically if condition is validating, or you do something if it match. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to check this value first. Take this value. So what I'm going to do, get the element by id, which is text box, and see whether equal to blank. So what it mean actually is if the open and you could get the condition, this condition true, and do something. Okay, let me add this one. And if this condition false, remaining, do this one. This is very simple basic if condition. So what I'm going to do is, if it is a blank, I mean there is no value in the text box, send a message to the customer or the user saying that no value, that you have to use it. So basically alert comes pop up and see that no value, please populate. So what would happen now is it checks that either is there a value or it's a blank. If there is a value, then it just populate value to the label. If it is blank, which means I check it double quotes, which is no value, and it sends the alert. Let me to the format, save, and refresh. Okay, let me do this one, change p value. Okay, now I get the message I given in the windows.alert because there is no value inside the text box. So that's why it says populate. Let me populate hello. Look at that. So if there is a value, it just changed the value in the p. I think we are updating p. P is the paragraph. If there is no value, it sends the windows.alert message using the basic if condition. I hope now you learn how to use if condition. So you can keep adding if else, if else, if else. You can add all the conditions. Let's say now let's add a simple button. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to define some variable. We will learn how to use variable. Okay, how to define variable. So let's say button. When I click button, I just want to trigger a function called calculate. Okay, and this function calculate open. So now let's learn how what is variable. So you know that variable is a small block of space where you can assign the values, store the values. So let's say where how do you define the variable in JavaScript? Use var is a static value, static keyword. You cannot change it. So but the variable name is user defined. For example, variable a is equal to 10. So what I'm doing, I defined a variable called a and storing the value 10. And I'm also defining a variable called p and storing the value 20. Now what I'm going to do is now defining a variable called c and going to add a plus b. So I define a, define b and assign the values. Now I'm just doing some arithmetic operation and final value stored in the c. Now let me assign this value to the paragraph. So let's say document, same process, get element by id. The element is paragraph dot inner html equal to the c. So now what happened, whenever I click calculate, it just triggered this function and doing some arithmetic operation, finally assigning this value to this paragraph. Let's do the save the file, do refresh. I get small the button. The reason I don't see anything because I don't have value given. So let's say calculate, save, refresh. Now I get calculate. So now what I'm going to do is when I click calculate, it changed 30. How? Because when I click calculate, it just called the calculate function, assign the value variable 20 and add this and assign back to this variable. Now you understand how you define a variable. So variable is a piece of just a storage. You can do it, and there are multi other variables. We can call it a constant variable, static variable. We'll also learn that. Let's start from little beginning so that you'll understand. Now let's say how do we use some default function or inbuilt function, I would say, because let's say whenever you do something, you call this function. This is user defined function. We define this, that's why we call it user defined function. Let's say example, how do we use the the system define. Let me create a button and close the button. Okay, now and on click, what I'm going to do is I'm going to call get dates. Here get dates is user defined, which means I define. So whenever I click this, I'm going to get this one. I'm going to use function get dates, same user defined function. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try some inbuilt or system defined function. Let's say I'm going to assign when I click this get dates. Okay, I need to get the current date. So current date, you can get the date by get date function. Let me show you. What I'm going to do is now I'm going to assign this to paragraph, the same thing. So what's the value now? So how to get the date? So for to get the date, you can use date class. So what it does actually, it get the current date. Let's take get date. Okay. Okay, now when I click the get date, it gets the current date and print it here. So now you learn how to use some variable, how to use if condition, how to use some system defined class. There are other method also, This is some basic. So there are so many methods, so many ways you can define. I hope you learned this one. This will be really useful. Thank you all for watching. In next video, we will see other JavaScript related or advanced, little advanced JavaScript coding. Thank you for watching.